Hola, buenos dias. My name is Clara. I am a rising senior studying political science, and right now I am studying at the Pontificia University in Valparaiso. I am studying Spanish here, and I'm going to take you on another little day in the life Q&A takeover. So let me know if you have any questions. My classes are going really well. I'm actually in class right now, but we're sitting outside, and we were just assigned to do research on a news topic and be able to explain it, like take notes on it and be able to explain it in Spanish. So I just finished doing that, and we just have a few minutes left where everyone's doing their research. It's a really beautiful day outside. Here, I'll show you. Living with a host family comes with its ups and downs, especially when you're used to having independence or just sort of living your own way of life. But I think that's what's really interesting about it, because it's a whole different kind of cultural immersion. You're having to adapt to someone else's lifestyle, and for me, it's very intense language immersion, because my host parents do not speak English, and so it's coming up with really creative ways to communicate and be very expressive about what you mean, but it's also just forced me to have to be able to communicate in Spanish a lot more, which has been very helpful for my language comprehension. Okay, so there are a few things that are sort of set in the schedule, like classes. There's classes between 8:30 and 2 every day. My classes are 9 to 10:30 and 10:45 to 12:15. So I'm done after that. On Tuesdays and Wednesdays, typically the program I'm here with, ISA, they have a meeting or a cultural excursion, that sort of thing, in the afternoon. But besides that, you pretty much have your own free time. Today, I'm not really doing much with my free time because this past weekend I was in Patagonia, so I'm using this day to rest a little bit. And then the next 2 days, I have things all during the afternoon, so. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Valparai.
Everything that I've had, praise the Lord. Worship Christ with the best.
On days when I have class, I wake up at 7:45. I get ready, I have breakfast. My host mom makes me breakfast every morning. Usually it's yogurt, cereal, fruit, toast. And then I leave for the bus at 8:30, and I take the public transportation to school, and then I have class. And then my afternoons are constantly changing. So yeah, pretty much the only structure I really have is that like Tuesdays and Wednesday afternoons I have activities, and on some weekends there's activities, and other weekends we have free to just plan our own. So yeah, a lot of the Americans that I'm here with, we hang out a lot of the days. So yeah. A really cool thing that happens sometimes at school is they have the students that are taking English classes and the students that are from the States. They have like a little conversation time. So last week in the International Student Lounge, we all just like sat around and just had conversations in Spanglish, and it was super, super fun. And the local students got to practice their English, and we got to practice our Spanish. And I was honestly really proud because I was able to pretty much communicate everything in Spanish, and then multiple people complimented me on my Spanish, and I felt really proud. I was asked to teach you all a little bit of Spanish today, so I thought that I would actually teach you some Chilenismos. So Spanish in Chile is very different than it is in any other part of the world, and it's very difficult, but they have words that they say here in Chile, and they call them Chilenismos. So one of them is bacán, and it's like cool, like that's bacán. Another one is cachai. Like, did you catch that? Cachai? Kind of like, do you understand? One more, ¿cómo está ahí? Instead of saying like, ¿cómo estás? Or ¿cómo está? They say, ¿cómo está ahí? They also don't say a lot of the S's at the end of the word. So instead of like, nos vemos, like we will like see you later, it's like, no vemo, which gets confusing. So my last takeover that I did was 3 weeks ago, which is crazy because it feels like a week ago, which is a good thing, I think. But I talked about how I was feeling really overwhelmed. I was experiencing a lot of culture shock and homesickness, and that never really like goes away, but it definitely gets better. And I'm now at this weird point where I have become comfortable enough here that I'm now just like getting sad that it's almost over, because I have less than 2 weeks left, and I'm excited to be home again, actually, but I also am sad to leave here. It's just a really weird feeling that never really goes away whenever you travel. So that's a lot to process, but overall it's been really good. Studying abroad is so interesting because the way I think of it, it's like a microcosm of life. Like, you face, in the short span of time, you face all of these really difficult challenges and things that just keep knocking you over, but then you also experience like the most beautiful things, and you grow so much in this short period of time. And it can be overwhelming, but it's like, it's just a constant reminder that that's what life is, like failing and growing and experiencing beautiful things and difficult things and them being intertwined. I'm getting a little philosophical here, but I think that's like why I recommend studying abroad to anyone who can, because you just experience so much and you learn so much, obviously about the world and also about yourself. I think a lot of people study abroad to have a deeper understanding of foreign things, but what ends up happening is you develop a much deeper understanding of personal things, if that makes sense. Like, I studied abroad because I want to become a better global citizen. I want to understand the world better, and I do, but I also grow so much and learn so many things about myself and also where I come from, and I become so much more appreciative of America, like of the place I call home. I like have developed such a deeper understanding of what home is to me, and also of my own identity, which is really cool. The grading scale here is very different from the States. The grading scale is from a 1 to 7, with 1 being the lowest and a 7 being the equivalent of a 100. And you need at least a 4 to pass the class here. And between a 6 and a 7 is approximately an A. Yeah. My last bit of advice before I sign off is that if you ever come to Chile, you should eat sopapillas. I love sopapillas, but I only really like the ones that my host mom makes. I have tried sopapillas from the store, from different like cafes, and they're just not that good because she like fries them fresh and she makes them with pumpkin, which is very Chilean, but a lot of the stores don't actually make them with real pumpkin. Anyway, very good. the nice thing about having a host family is that you sort of have an immediate connection to someone who's local. My host family has a large extended family, so lots of people to interact with. But also, this question reminded me of a few times I've Ubered with my friend who has a very different way of engaging people than I do. He will literally just strike up a conversation with the Uber driver and just talk about anything and everything, and he really uses any opportunity as a time to have a conversation, which I really look up to, and I've been trying to learn from him, to just put myself out there more and just talk to strangers when it's safe. But yeah. So the interesting thing about Valparaiso is that Valparaiso is actually a region in Chile, but I also live in the city of Valparaiso. So it's sort of like New York, New York. I live in Valparaiso. And right next to Valparaiso is Vina del Mar. It's sort of like two cities, but I've said in the US this would be considered one city because it's the same city, but they have very distinguished differences, and the people are we keep them separate. They're very, very different. But I think I live on the border, and Vina is definitely nicer, safer. It's a little bit richer, but Valparaiso is also super fun and quirky. I had a very chill afternoon today because I'm trying to recuperate from my hectic weekend and get energy for the rest of the week. So I just chilled out. I hung out and talked with my host family for a while, and then I also wrote a paper for my grammar class. In my grammar class we have it's only 4 weeks of class, and we have 3 papers that are very small and very easy, and 3 tests. And then in my conversation class, we have 2 presentations over the course of the month. So that's sort of how it's split up. And then that's pretty much where our grades come from, as well as participation. The grading scale here is very different from the States. The grading scale is from a 1 to 7, with 1 being the lowest and a 7 being the equivalent of a 100. And you need at least a 4 to pass a class here. And between a 6 and a 7 is approximately an A. Yeah. My last bit of advice before I sign off is that if you ever come to Chile, you should eat sopapillas. I love sopapillas, but I only really like the ones that my host mom makes. I have tried sopapillas from the store, from different cafes, and they're just not that good because she fries them fresh, and she makes them with pumpkin, which is very Chilean, but a lot of the stores don't actually make them with real pumpkin. Anyway, very good. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and say good night. It's been really fun to have you here with me in Valparaiso, Chile. Thank you for coming along with me today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions for me, feel free to message me on Instagram.